नमस्कार, आप देख रहे हैं बेहद खास बातचीत श्री पी चिदम्बरम से। इस वक्त मोदी जी की सरकार के 3 साल पूरे होने को हैं और उस मौके पर सरकार कह रही है कि ये 3 साल बेमिसाल रहे हैं, जबकि कांग्रेस पार्टी का कहना है कि ये बेहाल रहे हैं। हम बात कर रहे हैं फेसबुक लाइव पर द क्विंट, इंग्लिश क्विंट, हिंदी क्विंट और ब्लूमबर्ग क्विंट के फेसबुक पन्नों पर, और हमारे वेबसाइट पर भी आप ये बातचीत देख सकते हैं। सर, आपने वक्त निकाला, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया। द फर्स्ट थिंग, you should congratulate Mr. Modi. He has performed very well on all fronts: growth, fiscal deficit and inflation.
Yes, I congratulate him for maintaining the fiscal consolidation path that we had chalked out. They slipped in the first year, but then when the whole world pointed out that you're slipping, they've come back to the fiscal consolidation path. Inflation is under control because oil prices are exactly 1/2 the oil price when we were in office. In fact, it went below 1/2. It's come to 1/2. From $106 a barrel to yesterday's price was $53 a barrel. So on those things, we have no quarrel. But unfortunately, people can't eat fiscal deficit. People can't say, I have no job, but inflation is low. One measures a government on finally one test. Is life better today than what it was 3 years ago? You promised Achhe Din. You promised Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. I'm a Dalit. Do I feel better? Do I live better? I'm a Muslim. Do I live in fear, or can I go around with my head held high? I'm an NGO. Am I free to do my civil society work, or I'm under constant threat of FCRA cancellation or cancellation of income tax exemption? Those are the tests. Ultimately, a government will be tested on whether it has created jobs, whether incomes are higher, whether life is better.
You spoke about Dalits or Muslims or FCRA cancellation. The government says that these NGOs are actually working against the interest of country, and all these incidents used to happen in any government. And why are you highlighting these incidents which are isolated?
I can't think of the UPA's 10 years where such things happen. Priya Pillai was stopped at the airport from boarding a flight to go to London to address the British MPs. Now, how is that a subversive act? Why was she stopped? Sitaram Yechury was disinvited from delivering a lecture in Nagpur. Is Sitaram Yechury a terrorist? My lecture in IIT Delhi was cancelled the previous evening. Why? So I think somebody must explain this climate of fear and climate of threat that this government is spreading.
Okay, sir. We will talk about the political side in more detail, but let's focus on economy. You spoke about because of oil, the inflation rate is low. Oil gave a good opportunity, a big bonanza, where they could have passed on the benefits to consumer. They could have created some consumer demand. Did they miss the opportunity, or in fact, good that they kept this money so that fiscal deficit is looking good?
No, they did not pass the benefit entirely to the consumer, because without that oil bonanza, they could have never met the fiscal deficit target. So the fiscal deficit target has been met not because the government either controlled expenditure or increased its efficiency of collecting tax revenue. The fiscal deficit has been met thanks to the oil producing countries. If it's not the effort of the government, it's a bonanza. I've written about it. I said this bonanza is what has helped the government maintain the fiscal deficit. But I'm happy that they have adhered to the fiscal deficit.
And the other big ticket reform, GST, is now kicking in. From 1st July, we will be in one market, one nation kind of regime. It's a great achievement. You tried, but you failed.
I didn't fail. I was tripped. We could have introduced GST in 2012. We're introducing it in 2017. Has not the country paid a price for 5 years of delay? This GST idea was our idea. We developed it. We even drafted a bill. The BJP was totally opposed to GST. I'm glad the bill is passed today and the law is going to be implemented in a few weeks or months or whatever. But the fact is, it was delayed for 5 years because of the obstructionist policies of the BJP, and the country has paid a price for the 5-year delay.
Let me flip the argument. I would criticize this GST because it is not one tax and one rate. There are several rates and several slabs and several exemptions. Why should we even believe that it is one GST?
No, it is not one tax, one nation. It is multiple rate taxation, leaves out a large part of the GDP. Petroleum is left out, alcohol is left out, a big part of the GDP is left out. So it's not an ideal GST. But I won't complain on that ground because this is perhaps the best that the government could achieve given the present context. It is not an ideal GST. In fact, the chief economic advisor has criticized it. I think they could have tried harder. If they had tried harder, they could have reduced the number of rates to only 3. And if they had tried harder, they could have brought petroleum, at least petroleum, into the GST. And then bring the alcoholic beverages also into the GST.
The other big issue was of the NPA problem. They spoke a lot about it. Finally, not much has happened. Now the ball is in RBI court. RBI can now tell banks, please structure or restructure this loan like this. You think this is a big move and it will now declog the credit?
See, what does it mean? It means the government has thrown up its hands. The majority shareholder, the virtual owner of public sector banks, has thrown up its hands and passed the buck to the RBI. But I don't exonerate the RBI. Please understand, lending, credit, when it was given, could have been done only according to the guidelines of the RBI then in force. RBI audits the books of every bank. So RBI was fully aware when these loans were given. So nothing wrong with the loans that were given. Leave out the 1 or 2 cases of criminal misconduct. RBI had oversight over the loans. RBI's director sits on the board of every bank. Therefore, RBI cannot say these loans were given without my knowledge. The real issue is not today RBI has a responsibility to drive recovery. That's not the issue. The issue is why in the last 3 years have NPAs not come down? When do NPAs rise? NPAs rise when the economy is not doing well. NPAs come down when the economy picks up and people are able to pay back the loan or service the loan. If Achay then has already come, if there is such tremendous growth, if there is so much investment and so much production and so much growth, why are the NPAs getting worse? Why is 6% NPA now become a 10% NPA? Which only shows that these growth numbers are completely unreliable numbers. If the economy was indeed growing, if the manufacturing sector was indeed growing, if the industry was indeed growing, many of them would have paid back part of the loans, isn't it?
तो सर इसको थोड़ा और आप एक्सप्लेन करिए, क्योंकि हमको जो सरकार से नंबर मिलते हैं उनका कहना है कि देखिए एफडीआई ऑल टाइम हाई पे है, इन्फ्लेशन, जीडीपी और फिस्कल डिसिप्लिन की हमने बातें कर ली, फॉरेन ट्रेड गिवन ग्लोबल कंडीशन ठीक ही चल रहा है। रुपया देखिए वापस अप्रिशिएट हो रहा है, चलिए एक्सपोर्ट से उसका दूसरा एक फॉल आउट है। तो हमारी इकोनॉमी परफॉर्म कैसा कर रही है? हाउ आर वी डूइंग टुडे?
See, ultimately you can't measure an economy in one parameter. If you measure it in one parameter, fiscal deficit, it's excellent. If you measure it in one parameter, inflation, it is very good. But if you measure it in one parameter, jobs, it is terrible, it's hopeless. According to data of the Labour Bureau, 1,35,000 jobs were created in a period of 9 months, where they promised 2 crore jobs in a year. And according to the Labour Bureau's other data, thanks to demonetization, some 4 lakh people lost their jobs. Therefore, I don't think you measure an economy in one parameter. I measure it on the following parameters. Number 1, have jobs been created? That's the first question I will ask. Second question is, has there been more investment as a proportion of GDP? The third question is, in order to support the case that there is investment, how much is bank credit growing? Now, bank credit is at an all-time low. I believe it's over a 20-year low. Investment to GDP ratio has fallen by almost 5 percentage points, and there are no jobs.
So,
how can you call this a humming, thriving economy?
So, going forward in 2 years, Mr. Modi has to show that he has delivered on his promises, and job being most critical thing. Where some jobs are being created which we are not able to capture in our formal economy because Ujjwala is taking off, Jan Dhan money is flowing in, or it will flow going forward. And then they have other rural development schemes. So some jobs are being created somewhere. There is a feeling that somebody is getting some money somewhere.
No.
We are missing on.
Don't get carried away. See, I have a son or a daughter or a nephew. You are my uncle. You are running a shop. You are already employing 5 people. My son or nephew has just passed class 12 or got a BA degree. Then I come to you and say, listen, I'm looking for a job, I can't get a job. I'll let him go and work in your shop. Now 5 people are already working there. If a 6th guy is accommodated there, that's not a job. If on a farm, the 2 acres of land or 3 acres of land, a farmer's family, man, wife, 2 children are already working. And then there's one more son who now becomes 18. He also goes to work there. That's not an additional job. There's no option. There's no other way. They have to accommodate them. Those are not jobs. We are talking about jobs that are created, genuine jobs that are created in manufacturing, in industry, in the service sector, in micro, medium, small enterprises, genuine jobs that are created. And in most of these jobs, there is a certain degree of certainty, certain degree of permanence, and monthly salaries paid. Those are the jobs we are talking about, and those jobs are not being created.
Right. So, there is a general consensus that Mr. Modi will win 2019.
Maybe, I don't know.
If he has not delivered on the promise, if job becomes the main yardstick to judge his success or failure, why would he still be successful? Because everyone agrees that he will win 2019.
Parties have won elections, parties have lost elections. The most performing government in terms of economic reform was Mr. Narasimha Rao's, 1991 to 1996. Yet Mr. Narasimha Rao lost the re-election. According to the BJP, Mr. Vajpayee's government was a grand performing government. Between 1999 and 2004, Mr. Vajpayee lost an election. Are you saying that the performance of Mr. Vajpayee, BJP leader, and the performance of Mr. Narasimha Rao, Congress leader, were any less in terms of contribution to the country than the 3 years of Mr. Narendra Modi? Therefore, don't go by the fact that Somebody loses an election or wins an election. Elections are won or lost on several factors. Question is, and what we are discussing is the country better off today? Keep your hand on your heart and ask you. Is Kashmir better off? No. Is the Naxalite affected area better? No. The two gravest challenges to India's internal security are the unrest in the Kashmir Valley and the uprising, the regrouping of the CPI Maoist in the left-wing extremist affected districts. Number two, is there social peace? 3 years ago, what was the social peace and what is the social peace today? All that you hear every day is love jihad, anti-Romeo squad, go Raksha, people being killed if they buy. That guy, Pelu Khan, bought 2 cows and was taking it with his sons to his dairy farm. He's killed in broad daylight. NGOs are under threat. Dalits, they mobilized in Jantar Mantar. It's a spontaneous mobilization. They feel they are under threat. Muslims feel they are under threat. Christian pastors have told me that their churches are under threat. Now there is no social peace, there is no social harmony, there is greater disharmony and division. So internal security situation is worse. Social peace is under threat. Economic factors, jobs, investment, credit is at an all-time low. How do you say that things are hunky-dory? This has nothing to do with elections. You can win elections by dividing people. You can win elections by polarizing voters.
Then how do we say that we are an enlightened democracy going by your
We are not.
commentary?
We are not an enlightened democracy. We mature for a few years and then we regress. Our institutions become stronger.
Now we are blaming people.
No, we don't blame
in collective
people. We
wisdom,
blame
they have
ourselves.
voted, Mr. Modi.
We are not blaming anyone. People voted in the hope they will get jobs. People voted in the hope that their incomes will be better, lives will be better. I'm not questioning the legitimacy of Mr. Narendra Modi's victory. 31% in a multi-party democracy is a resounding victory. Let that put on record. He got a resounding vote of confidence. But has he delivered is the question. Has his government delivered? Now we'll wait to see what happens in 2019. He may win, he may not win. But the fact is, this country today is not better or stronger or more peaceful than what it was in 2014.
Sir, if things are not better, then why this narrative is not becoming vocal or compelling enough? So then I would want to ask you that as an opposition and as the main opposition party, Congress party, have you all also not somewhere failed or not been able to discharge your duties the way it should have been? Because there is one huge amplification of big super brand, and the other criticism, even if they are valid, we don't hear them enough.
I've got 2 answers. The first answer is it's not correct to say that there is no pushback from the people. 5 elections took place. Mr. Modi won convincingly in UP and Uttarakhand. But he lost equally convincingly in Punjab. In Goa, his party was number 2, despite his party being in government and Mr. Manohar Parrikar visiting Goa every weekend. In Manipur, his party came number 2. There is a pushback to the Modi narrative. So I don't think it's one-sided story. I think there is a pushback. Number 2, political parties have not paid attention to their organization. Speaking for the Congress party, I've been saying privately and publicly that we have neglected our organization. For 10 years we were in government, we focused on government, we neglected the organization. In the meanwhile, in 10 years, the RSS, BJP have built a powerful election machine. We need to match that machine.
Sir, organization is one part. May I say that Mr. Modi's juggernaut is almost incomprehensible for Congress party. The party doesn't even get it that what they are fighting against. That's why they are not able to come up with a strong narrative.
I don't agree. We know what we are fighting against. We are fighting against majoritarianism, an attempt to impose a monoculture, attempt to impose Hindi on the non-Hindi speaking people, an attempt to reduce the minorities to second-class citizens. We are fighting against a culture of control. We are fighting against a culture of government surveillance of all the citizens and the residents of India. We are fighting against tendencies that can be described as authoritarian. I won't use a stronger word. There is a stronger word, but at the time we are fighting against authoritarianism. We are fighting against concentration of power in the hands of an individual. We are fighting against a right-wing reactionary regime. We know what we are fighting. But in order to fight that, we need to have a powerful organizational machine. Where we are powerful, we can fight them. In Kerala, we are powerful, we are able to fight them. In Karnataka, we have a good organization, we are able to fight them. Where Mamta ji has a good organization in Bengal, she is able to fight them. Where KCR is a good organization, Telangana is able to fight them. In Punjab, Amarinder Singh built an organization in about a year and he was able to fight them. Where we don't have an organization, we are not able to fight them.
Traditional politics tells us that if all opposition parties unite, they can challenge the governing ruling party effectively. But now the commentary, the mood is such, or the lack of energy in opposition parties is such, that even if everyone unites and there is a ragtag Mahagathbandhan in 2019, still it seems that Mr. Modi will win because now he is targeting 40% of vote share.
No, don't come to such conclusions. Remember what the campaign was in 2003-04, the last year of the Vajpayee government. India shining. Huge amount of money was spent. Massive campaign was launched, bringing all kinds of agencies into the picture. India shining did not win an election. But I don't think you should write off the opposition so quickly or so easily. Let us see. It's difficult to get together a grand coalition. But if a grand coalition is formed around a certain core principles, I think it's possible to challenge the RSS-BJP machine. But I concede the RSS-BJP machine has become much stronger today than what it was in 2004.
We will come back to Mr. Modi's performance, but last question on opposition. Is there a clear realization that you will need to project one man against Mr. Modi? Otherwise, just saying that we will elect our Prime Minister candidate later will not work.
I don't know. It can work both ways. See, if we are talking about one party able to challenge Mr. Modi, maybe you're right that the party must clearly identify a leader. But if you yourself say it's only a grand coalition, a Mahagathbandhan that can challenge Mr. Modi, then I don't think electing a leader at this stage is going to be a great help. We'll have to wait for the Mahagathbandhan to work together, to coalesce and to throw up a leader.
Sir, coming back to Mr. Modi's performance, one big discussion point became demonetization. And he proved everyone, almost everyone, commentator, expert, economists, wrong.
Where?
Because the demonetization has not hurt Indian economy.
Where? How do you come to the conclusion? UP.
UP is one big endorsement.
So in UP, the people of UP endorsed demonetization. By the same argument, the people of Punjab rejected demonetization. The people of Uttarakhand endorsed demonetization, but the people of Goa and Manipur rejected demonetization. Both arguments are fallacious.
Agreed. But we said that it will hurt economy. It has not hurt economy.
It has. Go by the government's numbers. They've got a new series, the magic number I call it. Go by their own numbers. Gross value addition. Gross value addition has declined by 1%, and ultimately final numbers will come. It may decline as much as 1.5%. Now, how are we wrong? I said it will go down by 1 to 1.5.
Right.
Other people said 2%. All right, these are estimates. But a decline of GVA by 1%, is that not hurting the economy?
And that
you know
too
what
by
1%
the
means?
new series.
You know what 1% of GDP or GVA means?
Almost 50,000.
1,50,000 crore. Is that not a loss to the country? And if the Labour Bureau says 4 lakh jobs were lost, is that not a loss to the country? But I don't think demonetization was a success. What are the 3 objectives of demonetization? It will put an end to corruption. So tell me, nobody is giving bribes, nobody is taking bribes today. Just go down to the states, go down to the municipalities, every building permission, bribes are given and taken. Every contract, bribes are given and taken. Capitation fee is being given a new currency instead of old currency.
So that's what Mr. Modi says.
Number 2, he said fake currency will go. We have seen 2,000 rupee note counterfeit currency.
In fact, it has become easy to reprint such notes.
So corruption has not gone, fake currency has not gone. He said terrorism will come to an end. Every day we are losing 2 soldiers or 2 civilians on the Indo-Pakistan border. Has terrorism come to an end? Has Sukma not happened? So demonetization was a wrong prescription for the 3 evils. Corruption, fake currency and terrorism must be quelled. I'm not complaining against objectives. On day 1 I said the objectives were good. If Mr. Modi wants to use some measure to achieve those objectives, I will support him. But demonetization was not the measure. All right, forget all that now. They said this money won't come back. Tell us how much has come back. Why is the RBI still counting?
This I find quite...
Why are they still counting? I suggested, tongue in cheek, just go to Tirupati, the hundi counters are there. They count every day crores of rupees. You get hold of those hundi counters.
What is the real reason? I mean, this is very
The
baffling.
real reason is entire money has come back. They don't want to admit it. Otherwise, how long will they count? I want to know.
But this is
Have they
affront,
not-
this
have
is
they-
affront to people. That
Do
they
they
are
not know
telling.
there's something known as a counting machine today? How long will they count?
Will they ever give a number?
They won't.
That's very troubling, isn't it?
Well, that was expected because every rupee has come back. The rupees that have not come back are these poor NRIs who are standing outside the RBI's door. 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, I came late, I couldn't come earlier. And those guys are running from pillar to post, and you don't have the generosity to exchange those 10,000 and 20,000 rupees.
Government is emphasizing a lot that post demonetization, the kind of Benami property action, fake companies, they have gone after them and they are going to chase them. And lots of black money is being brought in the system by raids and all
Tell
that.
me where. Nothing to do with demonetization. The laws that you are using.
But the war against black money is on.
That's correct, but nothing to do with demonetization. You could have done it without demonetization. Okay. You could have gone after Benami property. You could have gone after cash holds without demonetization. Why did you make people suffer for 60 days, 70 days, 80 days in sun and rain? 103 people died. Why did you have to put them through that?
Sir, let's focus on politics, and I think Jammu and Kashmir, you should really throw some light on because you have dealt with the topic as Home Minister. It seems that BJP has a strategy, and the strategy is to now really come out very strongly with iron hand to quell the separatist movement and attack Pakistan and eliminate terrorist activities. Is it playing out well?
It's a completely wrong strategy. Don't listen to me. Listen to the other independent voices. We have A.S. Dulat, former RNAW chief, close observer of Kashmir for many, many years. We have M.K. Narayanan, former director IB and former NSA, intimately familiar with the situation in Kashmir. Don't listen to me, listen to them. There is no way out except to engage in talks. We found ourselves in the same situation in 2010. I had taken over as Home Minister end of 2008. 2009 we were focusing on counter-terrorism. But Kashmir deteriorated. 2010 summer was the worst. And I said, pause now. We are on the wrong path. I had a long chat with Umar Abdullah, brought the matter to Cabinet Committee on Security, and I told the Prime Minister, this is wrong. We have to completely change gears and adopt a different approach. We have to engage the people of Kashmir Valley. So we appointed interlocutors. Remember, 2011, 12, 13, 14 were the most peaceful years in Kashmir Valley in the last 2 decades. Dramatically, incidents came down, deaths came down, killings came down. Answer is to engage. The sequence of engagement you can decide, but you'll have to start engaging. First engage the students, then engage the youth organizations, then engage civil society organizations, then engage non-Hurriyat political parties, then engage Hurriyat, say way down the line, maybe 6th, 7th or whatever. But you have to engage the people of Kashmir. The answer is not, I won't talk to anyone. I'll treat everyone as an anti-national. A stone pelter will be treated as an anti-national. It's a completely wrong strategy. It is not only muddle-headed, it is so grossly wrong that I fear for this country.
But they must be having some thought behind it, the kind of method or the strategy which is apparent that they have a well thought ideas about.
No, this is simply iron fist. This is jackboot iron fist strategy. This is wrong.
What is the political implication to the electoral implication of such a policy?
See, I think we are losing the Kashmir Valley. If you continue with this policy, I'm afraid we can never retrieve it. This is not the way to deal with our own people. Kashmiri people are Indian people. You have to deal with those 70 lakh people, 7 million people. You have to deal with them in a manner that is humane, just and fair. You have to talk to them. They won't talk to anyone. I don't think this strategy is right. Ignore my voice. Listen to the voices of reason. A number of people, including Northern Army commanders, have said you must talk. The last commander of the Northern Army said, I'll carry out government's orders, but the answer is to talk to people.
Now, you mentioned about Northern Commander. Army is being discussed in a new manner. Army is allowing itself to be discussed in a new manner. Are you okay with it?
No, I'm not. I completely disagree with the Chief of Army Staff that a stone pelter must be dealt with as an anti-national. You must understand what is motivating him to throw stones. If girl students are throwing stones and their mother will say, sorry, I can't stop my child from throwing a stone, then I think things have become very, very serious. Earlier, boys threw stones and the parents tried to restrain them. Today, girls are throwing stones and the parents are unwilling to restrain them or incapable of restraining them. And the army chief says, I'll treat them as anti-nationals. I think it's wrong. I think what they did to this young man, tying him to a bonnet and driving him, according to Mr. Umar Abdullah, 28 kilometers through 9 villages. Now, the army major justifies it by saying it was a out-of-the-box thinking to get out of a crisis. Let me concede that point. I don't agree. Let me concede that point. So out-of-the-box thinking, you had to get out of a crisis situation. You tied him to the bonnet. You drove, say, half a kilometer. That was over. Why did you drive him 28 kilometers into 9 villages? Why? I think these are completely wrong. These are gross violation of human rights. These are violation of the Geneva Conventions. I don't think this is what the Indian Army was. Read Mr. Karan Thappar's article today, and he says, this is not the army I know. And he comes from an army background, an army family.
So, but everyone generally agrees, be it critic or be it admirer, that Mr. Modi does no wrong. And a politician is in the business to win an election. If he is doing so many things wrong...
you can't win elections by doing wrong things. You should not win elections by doing wrong things. You should do the right things and then win elections.
But looking at next 2 years, the 3 years accomplishment or the achievement would be basically like this, that there have been a great leap in economy, a great
That's
innovation, great transformation, new wave of reform from GST to FIPB, etc.
So, hey, listen, FIPB had already reached a point where 95% of proposals are on the automatic route. So if you waited for 6 months, it would have become 99%. What are you abolishing? You are abolishing something which is already 95% dysfunctional.
So, Mr. Modi, after Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas or Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat, he will definitely come up with a new slogan for next 2 years.
You must count the number of slogans that have been coined in the last 3 years. You must count the number of acronyms that have been coined in the last 3 years. You must also count the number of acronyms with which the Venkaiah Naidu will coin in the next 2 years. Therefore, acronyms and slogans, ultimately people are going to ask. In the next 2 years, I think the clamor will rise. Already it has started rising. Ultimately, people are going to ask, where are the jobs? Where is the investment? I was in South Tamil Nadu, in a district which is otherwise high in literacy, high in progressive thinking. I asked them, in the last 3 years, has there been one new industry in this district, which is a coastal district, that gave jobs to 1,000 people or 2,000 people? Answer is no. I said, in the last 3 years, in this town, have jobs been created? Can you think of a son or a nephew or a brother-in-law who's got a job? Answer is no. So I think the clamor will rise, where are the jobs? Give me a job. So the clamor will rise. The backdrop to that is investment to GDP ratio has fallen to 29%. The high was 34, 35 in 2 years, 2007-8 and 2010-11 or 11-12, one of the years. 34 to 35%. Today it is 29%. Credit, today's number says total credit is growing by 5% a year. 5% is the total credit growth. Deposit growth is close to 11.8 or 12%. So the point is, there is no credit, there is no investment. Where will the jobs come from? I think people are going to ask, where are the jobs?
Right. Sir, this is a valid argument, but let me ask you the last question. What BJP and Mr. Modi is trying to do, that I am conducting a very strong pro-poor politics. तो गरीबों के लिए anti-corruption and the packaging is of nationalism. This is a very strong combination to win next election easily.
See, I'm not going to get into a debate on who will win the next election. Let's come to corruption. Are you seriously telling me that building permits are being granted without corruption? Appointments are being made at the lower levels without corruption?
He has just started from Delhi.
To get a caste certificate, to get an income certificate, to get a mutation on the village records of your land transfer, everything, money has to be paid. In Tamil Nadu, it's like a rate card. It's like a menu in a restaurant.
But it is not Mr. Modi's government. It is
we are not
BJP
talking
government.
about Mr. Modi's government. We're talking about the central government which is responsible for the whole country. In Tamil Nadu, we all know it's a rate card. It's like a menu card. You go to a restaurant, vegetable soup, mixed vegetable soup, tomato soup, there is a price. Similarly, appointment as a teacher, appointment as a bus conductor, appointment as a bus driver, appointment as a midday meal scheme ayah. There's a rate card in Tamil Nadu. Are you saying that there's no corruption anywhere? Listen, after demonetization, the first incident of new notes, 2000 rupee notes, being caught in a bribe giving, bribe taken. You know where it was? In Kandla Port Trust. Where is Kandla? In Gujarat. 124 2000 rupee notes were seized from 2 engineers. Is that corruption or not? So don't tell people are not fools. Don't tell people there's no corruption in this country. If you want to say there's corruption at the lower level, that's a different matter. But don't say I've abolished corruption.
Sir, the point I was trying to make, that India is on the rise because of the all dynamics of last decades, the effort, the younger demography.
Thank God you say last decade.
So, Mr. Modi is at a good, advantageous position.
Who says no?
That country is growing. Country
Who
will
says
do
no?
well.
His own
and he will get the credit.
His own chief economic advisor has, in the economic review, as well as in his interview, said the boom years, is his words, not mine, the boom years were 2004 to 2010. His own words. So Mr. Modi inherited the benefit of the boom years. He should have built on it. See, I was finance minister in the first 5 years when we delivered average growth of 8.4%. So that's the benchmark. That's the record for India. 3 of those years we crossed 9%. Leave that aside. Average was 8.4 thanks to the last year, international financial crisis. Now you must do better than that. No? If you're going to be a pole vault champion, you must go higher than the previous height. So cross 8.4. So when have you crossed 8.4?
So your test, the bottom line test would be 8.4.
No, my test for high growth will be 8.4. Right. But I'm saying you're not even delivering your current 6.4. Nobody believes that. Know what the CA said? Unless there is 8% to 10%, that famous lecture, unless there is 8% to 10% growth, jobs will not be created. We are not creating jobs. The 3 job creating sectors of the boom years, infrastructure, agriculture and manufacturing, are sluggish. If you grow at 3 to 4%, you cannot create jobs. These are his words. Now I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Jobs are not being created. So I have to come to the conclusion, you're not growing at 6 to 7%. You're certainly not growing at 8 to 10%. You're perhaps growing in old terms between 5 and 6%. Therefore we are saying, and Mr. Anand Sharma today in a press conference has demanded, publish GDP numbers for the 10 years of UPA and 3 years of NDA. For 13 years, publish 2 series, one under the old system and one under the new system. Publish both. Take the old series and apply it to the current years. Take the new series and apply it to the old years. Publish both. So let us see where we are today. I have no doubt in my mind that the real growth in this country today is between 5 and 6%. A number of economists agree with me. In fact, I think a group of economists based in Singapore, and they've got an office here, have estimated the actual growth to be 5 to 6%, which is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. All I'm saying is it's not good enough for India. Right. It's not good enough to create jobs. It is not good enough, all the hype that was brought with Achedin.
Right. Sir, last question. Will you continue to critique and criticize Mr. Modi's government? You will sharpen your criticism or you will moderate it?
See, you might have noticed, I don't use harsh language. I don't use abusive words at all while speaking or writing. Mr. Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of India. I have to respect that office. This government is the government of India. I have to respect the government of India. I believe in the Constitution of India. So when I criticize in measured language, in moderate language. And I will continue to write. I will continue to speak. Ultimately, I believe moderate, measured words have a much greater impact on the people than abuse. And I will never indulge in abuse. And my facts are right. I've written today a column every week for almost 120 weeks or 125 weeks. Nobody has pointed out an error in a number in my column. It may be an error would have crept in, but nobody's pointed it out. Nor has anyone pointed out that I've ever used abusive language. So within those principles which I lay down for myself, I will continue to speak, I will continue to write. This is the first interview I'm giving at the end of the 3rd year of Modi government. Maybe there will be more interviews over the next week when they complete 3 years.
बिल्कुल नहीं सर, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया। एक्चुअली मैं बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूं कि ये 3 साल के मौके पर पहला इंटरव्यू आपने द क्विंट, हिंदी क्विंट और ब्लूमबर्ग क्विंट के लिए दिया। आपका बहुत शुक्रिया। थैंक यू सो मच सर।
थैंक यू।